Richardson up ahead. Look out. Hello. Amari Stoudemire elevates and detonates.
Welcome in, Planeteers. Don't let the smoke hit you in the face as Kevin puffs it. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about a 5-game jam-packed chance to turn around the season. Did we do it? We did not. Going 2-3 on the week.
Of course not.
No, of course not. At this point, yeah, it's of course not. But hey, we played one good team, and we lost there. So this I don't know what would the theme of the show be. Suns continue to just reveal it. They always say, well, when we started off 8-1, 8-2, 9-2, something like that. They're like, well, it's not a big enough sample size yet. It's only about a little over 10% of the season's done. And now we got a lot more of the season, and we are continuing to see some of the same things. But let's talk about it. We had that long break from the All-Star break, and then the Suns came back and got crushed. Not crushed, but we lost to Chris Paul and the Spurs without Wemby. Of course, that was last week. So how did they respond? Well, they responded
with a 2-3
I don't
week.
want to say quite well. We won. That's the important thing. We beat the Chicago Bulls 121-117. Led. Actually, by it was looking good. We that was I guess the big change. It feels like it's been forever now, guys. I apologize. Bradley Beal's back in the starting lineup sometimes when he's not injured. See, when he's out of the starting lineup, he doesn't get injured. But when he's in the starting lineup, he's unavailable on some nights. So, but we are led by Devin Booker with 29, Kevin Durant 27, Bradley Beal 25. And this was a change that a lot of Suns fans have been calling for, and we've talked a little bit about on the show that we like Tyus, but I think we all are in agreement that Tyus was just not being utilized to his best skill set maybe, because the numbers speak for themselves everywhere else he's gone. It's just not quite the same here. So don't let teams pick on little Tyus while he's out there as much. So get Bradley Beal back in the starting lineup with the guys. And it resulted with a win. They put Royce O'Neal out there. That'll change throughout this week as well. The Bulls, Bulls are always an interesting team. So, Bruce, I'm going to start with you because you cover a little bit of the Boston Celtics, which means you probably run up against a little bit more of these Eastern Conference guys. And the Bulls have been I feel like ever since the what do they call them? The mini bowls, the Derrick Rose Bulls runs and the Kirk Heinrichs and all that, they've kind of just decided that they're going to be as competitive as they can, not tank, but never be able to go out and they've tried to make moves, but they can't seem to get the home run hitter. And so they're languishing in that bottom rung of the playoff spots or play in tournament. So I don't want to say the Bulls aren't a tanking team, but they're not going anywhere for the rest of the year. Is that right?
Yeah, they are a team that I would say is in no man's land. And
wait, one sec. Let me check something. Kevin, are you getting that feedback too?
Yeah.
Okay,
it
sorry.
sounds like a robot.
Yeah, can you adjust the mic a little bit? Yeah, it sounds like it's getting vibrations like in a tunnel.
Is that better?
Not at all.
That was
and I mean that in a positive way. I'm just giving you the quick version.
Kirk Heinrich, Ben Gordon. Nice
God, I remember the Ben Gordon days. Yeah. Kev, why don't you break it down for us, and we'll let Bruce tweak the gear.
The Chicago game almost slipped away, and it could have been a 1 and
we're trying to stay positive at the beginning of the show, Kevin.
I'm just speaking facts, and they almost lost, and we almost had a 1-4 week. That's how bad the season is going.
Yeah, I mean, it's how to describe it to you, Bruce. It's not better, but it's also it sounds like a cable maybe is loose almost, because it sounds like it's catching some of it, but it's like when that back in the early 2000s when you'd have that friend with this sound system in their trunk of their car and it would just vibrate with the bass. It kind of sounds like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's vibrating my ear. When you watch this on playback, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" But don't worry, The Planeteers are generous. They'll let you work it out. And in the meantime, the Bulls, they've got some talented players. That's what's interesting about them. Lonzo Ball is finally back after a long hiatus of injury recovery. They have Nikola Vucevic, who is a guy that I know a lot of the Suns were hoping we could maybe try and find a way to acquire at some point over this.
Including me. Yep.
Yeah. Josh Giddey. I was a Josh Giddey fan until he became a fan of the Miners. Too soon? No, I have no proof of any of this. That he did anything wrong yet. But Josh Giddey, interesting player. Kobe White is really kind of the Kobe White thing. I always just remember Kobe White from when we drafted Cam Johnson. Do you remember that moment? Yeah. When they were like, "Hey, Kobe White, welcome to Chicago. Your friend from your team, Cam Johnson, just got drafted by the Suns." And it was funny because I didn't know much about Cam Johnson. And like the initial reports were like, guy has horrible hips and is going to need like surgeries.
Yeah.
Or he's already had surgeries. And Kobe White just sitting there is like, wow, man. And wow. And I was like, these aren't good wows. These are like, I can't believe my dude made it. Like it was a positive wow. Arguably Cam's done better, I'd say.
Well, there was no doubt that he was going to get drafted, but not that high.
Right, I think they were even looking at second round at some point, just because of the injury history. Yeah,
the late first round or second round pick, but great draft there by James Jones. Those were the good days.
That rounded out because the Bulls sent Zach LaVine out. They picked up Kevin Huerter. They got Zach Collins back, so they have the Bulls right now are a team in search of like great players. But they have a lot of good role players, I feel like. That's kind of the Bulls' challenge. They are too good to tank, but not good enough to compete. Sounds like us, just in a little bit of a reverse fashion. But Bruce, why don't you tickle the?
Am I good? Am I good now?
You're good. Yeah. Sit back. Okay, now you're yelling at me.
Yeah. No, sorry. I figured out the problem. It was connected to the camera for some reason. I don't know why it was connected to that. But we were talking about the Bulls. I was saying they're basically in no man's land. That's how I view the Chicago Bulls. How I kind of view the Atlanta Hawks as well, kind of going in before this season. They were a little bit in no man's land as well, where it's just you're in the middle, you don't have your first round picks, you're trying to compete, but should you be competing because you don't have a top tier roster? No, I don't really know. I feel like for Chicago, the reset was there at the deadline. The Vucevic trades were there, regardless if it was a first round pick, and they should have went through with it, but they didn't. And they're going to be in the play-in as a under 500 team. Yet the Suns are under 500 team and will not be in the play-in at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I've seen this version of the Bulls before, a losing record team that, I wonder how the fan base feels. Like, do they say, well, hey, anything can happen in the playoffs? Or do they go in there and they're like, why are we still here? We don't belong. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, I don't know. I would be torn because if you make the playoffs, you're out of the lottery. If you make the play-in tournament but lose and don't make the playoffs, you're back in the lottery. I could see that'd be real tough if you're like a play-in tournament. Maybe you're the 10th seed going in, and then you win it, and you get to play as the 8th seed. That'd probably be the worst of all the worlds, right? And probably get swept by the first-ranked team, and then your draft pick is locked, right? But no, like I was said, we almost let it slip away. We almost let it slip away early. We were down 30-20, but the Suns were able to figure it out. And Bradley Beal. It's funny. I was excited to see him back in there. I did not like the 4 assists and 4 turnovers initially, but I don't know. There's something about Bradley. Maybe it's just that he's more expressive sometimes. Although I feel like Booker's been getting more expressive, and we'll talk about that as well. But I feel like as frustrating as Beal's play can be on occasion, it doesn't look like he ever isn't trying. And that's been some of the knock on some of these other guys. It's just like, oh, man, you got to hustle. And I don't feel like I've ever seen Bradley not really hustle. Am I wrong on Bradley? I know King Nacho will come in here later and be like, trade Beal. And I think we're all okay with that at this point. But if the guy's going to be here, just try and be a good player. We can't cut his salary right now, but we can appreciate that he's trying.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the last playoff series against the Timberwolves, he was trying. I mean, he brings out the energy out there when it's lacking from the team, and it's just that energy doesn't seem to be contagious to everyone. But yeah, you can't fault the guy for that. At least he's trying, and he's showing heart.
Yeah.
Well, he's being paid big, so why won't he?
No, I agree. I
I
agree.
love that. Yeah, it's a classic line, of well,
My name is my name is my name is Bradley.
I love the old man yelling at the cloud kind of comment there, Kevin. Like, you're getting paid plenty. You should try, man. You should try because we're paying you hard. Like, I will say this. I've seen that. It's such a. This is gonna date me. Okay, boomer. Like you're getting paid money. You might as well try. Like at the same time though, like a minimum contract is still like $1 million in this league. So it's like, dude, you're a millionaire. You might as well try. But I see your point. No, he's being generously taken care of. I don't know, man. I tell you what, he gets so many little ouchies, and we knew his injury history, of course, going in. That I'm surprised he doesn't just have like one of those like cryogenic freezing chambers, and then like an oxygen chamber type deal, like at his house, and just like everything to keep him like alive and like well rested. Because was it $55 million a year? That'll get a man a nice cup of coffee in the morning for sure.
Oh, for sure. And like Kevin was saying, he has been playing that role great. He has been doing, a good job of giving the effort out there on the floor, regardless of what the fans have been saying to him or what has been happening outside for this whole entire season. I think I forget who tweeted it out, but someone tweeted out that like Bradley Beal has been handling this very professionally this whole entire season, and you have to give him his flowers there. And it's not a knock on Bradley Beal at all. He's just top tier player in the NBA. It's just his fit with this team. It's just that it just doesn't work. And you're seeing with the starting lineup that it can work in some bunches because they've gone with the bigger lineups with moving Kevin Durant to the small forward and allowing Bol to play the power forward. And I kind of wrote about how it kind of compensates for the defensive side just because they have the lack of bodies out there. They have the bigger size, but it still doesn't compensate for the defensive inefficiencies that the team does have still.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's essentially more of what we've kind of learned from this team is that our big three is not complementary enough with each other. Their strengths are the exact same strengths
Yep.
with each other. And, when I looked at, for example, teams like, I think we discussed the Warriors last time, Draymond, tough interior defender, could create a little bit. Curry could create a little bit. Great scorer. Klay Thompson, great shooter, good defender. Like they had other skill sets that they could kind of tap into, whereas these three guys are like, we will get a basket on you. And that's our skill set. Like they're okay at other things. They're not good enough to have it kind of be a dominant skill in a way. And I think that's where we're at. But hat tip to Bradley Beal. He played 3 of the 5 games this week. He's been out the last 2 with a calf injury, but he's day-to-day at the moment. But what I wanted to read out is the Chicago game, Toronto game, and Memphis game. He had 25, 30, and 24 points. He's shooting 53% from three-point range. And against Toronto, he was 12 of 15 overall for 80%. In the game against Memphis, 11 assists to 2 turnovers. So I would definitely say that the Bradley Beal move back to the starting lineup has been a positive.
100%. I would say that I was wrong on that as well. I thought that it wasn't going to work, in my opinion. I kind of was in spaces saying like, oh, it's not really going to change much, but it definitely has changed a lot with this offensive creation, just having that secondary creator out there. And you've seen with the games when Bradley Beal has been out later in this week, which we'll get into a little bit as well, where you've seen the offensive creation drop off with this team where other guys have to step up and take care of it for this squad. So I like seeing Bradley Beal out in the starting lineup, being able to give his own workload. And specifically, like you said, in that Toronto game, 80% from the field. That is an efficient Bradley Beal game, something that a lot of Suns fans will glaze over when looking back at this season.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Bradley, I feel like it's a hard thing for us to give him his flowers sometimes, just because, as Kevin says, you get paid, man. You should do that all the time. That's
Sorry
what we
about
pay
that.
you to do.
Baby stuff.
No, you're good. You're good. But you know what's not good? The loss to the Toronto Raptors segue. As the God dang it, this one really pissed me off. Yeah, because after we had that great win against the Bulls, where we won by 4, we go to Toronto to play the Raptors. We know Devin Booker hates some Raptor mascot, the whole 9 yards. But I thought to myself, okay, maybe the Spurs game was just a dud. This team is back. We're going to start building something here. Everyone's refreshed. Everyone's healthy. Toronto
And you're
Raptors
wrong.
are a struggling team. And even though they got Scotty Barnes back, which I was kind of surprised. I thought he was still out. That's how long it's been since I paid attention to Raptor news. But crushed. I'd say crushed. Anytime you lose to a team that is 18-39 and you lose by 18 points, I feel like that's a crush. Yeah, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Grady Dick. I was going to have fun with that one. Yeah, the Suns fell. I mean, there's no way else to describe it. What was interesting in this game, Booker led the team with 31. Bradley Beal, we talked about his efficient night of 12 of 15. And he had 30. Kevin Durant had an off game, 15 points, 5 of 15, a rare poor scoring night for him. And in the end, it's not on him because we just did that poorly. The Raptors kind of got whatever they wanted. Quickly led the team with RJ Barrett both having 23 points. And Chris Boucher, who's not known for scoring threes, which means play the Suns, you'll knock down some threes. He went 4 for 5 and got his 23 points. So, guys, what was the takeaway from the Toronto Raptors?
Well, it's that stat, really. A guy or a player who hasn't been known for his 3-point shooting during the season just, blasts out the Suns. It's always like that.
Pretty much is
And-
let's take a quick look here at the numbers. As a team, Toronto shot 49% from the field, 57% from 3. That's how it's difficult to win a game in the NBA if the other team is that hot. And
yeah,
I don't know, Bruce, I don't know if you saw this towards the end. I was definitely seeing it that we were going with the small ball 5 lineup of Kevin Durant out at the center position. I'm so over this lineup. Like, to me, it was when we first saw it, this was break glass in case of emergency. Kevin Durant can play the 5. But now we have seen it to where teams they understand it. They're like, oh, the Suns want to open up more shooting, which seems strange when you have so much offensive firepower in general that you need to get even more guys out to spread the floor open. But what we see is Kevin Durant's at the 5. You've got guys like Scotty Barnes ready to take it. You've got Orlando Robinson. You've got some big guys for the Raptors. They're not small. Chris Boucher being one of them that's a bigger guy. All the wings have to come inside a little bit more. So nobody's out there staying on their 3-point shooters because they're all condensing in to try and help KD so that nobody can get shots at the rim. So, Bruce, why was your favorite coach of the Suns doing such a bad scheme job?
So I agree with you that the small ball Kevin Durant lineup is not one of my favorites. We were talking about how the Suns have very similar players on this team, and once again, with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, they also have guys like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal who do the same thing on this squad, which is just sit on the 3-point line and just catch and shoot. And if you look at the Suns in this game, last week, obviously the week previous, we saw, Bol get some shine in that starting lineup. Well, to start off this week, Bol was coming off the bench once again for this team. Bol played 7 minutes in a game versus the Toronto Raptors, in which he had 5 points, 3 rebounds, was 100% from the field. But why was Bol one of the discrepancies to go up against a lanky Raptors team that always disrupts us with their size, not utilized in a game where the Suns needed to win? Why was Ryan Dunn not utilized when the Suns needed to stop the defense? This was the worst transition defense game I've seen of the Suns this season, and that's hard to say because the transition defense has been booty the whole entire season.
Damn.
I
Bruce
don't know.
is mad.
Have you guys checked to see if Bud's got a family tree? I mean, is there a niece or a granddaughter or something like that we think Mason Plumlee has introduced himself to? Because you know whose minutes have not come down since the All-Star break? He
It's
loves
that guy.
himself some Plum Dog, who was an efficient 2 of 2. He grabbed 3 rebounds, and he got just 17 minutes in this game. Is this a reflection more of Nick Richards, or is Mason Plumlee doing something that's just – well, let me put it this way. Is Nick Richards that bad, or is he that out of shape? Like, how can you justify a Plumlee play?
So for me, I think it's for Richards is the fact that he's uncomfortable. We've seen him hard adjust with this team with getting in foul trouble early on. And in yesterday's game, we kind of saw him – we'll get into a little bit, but kind of relax and calm down within this lineup with Booker as a lob threat and stuff like that, which I really like to see. And I think that's what he's going to be more prevalent as with this Suns team. I think he just needs some time to just integrate himself. And with the Suns not having another rebounder besides a 7-foot frail bull who sits at the 3-point line, they kind of have to utilize Mason Plumlee because after that Yusuf Nurkic trade, they decided to not get another backup center. They said, this is what we got. So this is what we're running with.
Which is hilarious because I feel like that's the one thing we have plenty of is backup centers on this team. Did the Suns not draft a guy named Oso Ighodaro? Has he completely disappeared from this roster for some reason? Now that we're below 500 and outside the play-in tournament looking in, the season's not over yet. We got, 20-some games left? Can we see some Oso? Mason won't be here next year, I don't think.
Who knows?
Maybe he'll actually play for more than minimum contract somewhere. I don't know. But Oso is going to be here, or at least in the league. He's got the contract, right? I think he's guaranteed for next year at least, and then team option after that. I forget how second round picks go because as Darth Voida points out, it's Bobby Boucher, not Bobby Boucher. Boucher. I don't know ball. This is 100% accurate. I don't know players on the Raptors. I don't pay attention to America's 51st state. Yes, I said that. No. Kevin likes it when I get political. That's such
people aren't going to get mad.
Yeah.
To answer your
Want
question,
to get mood? Yeah? Want to get mood?
Go ahead, Bruce.
Sorry.
Bring us back to reality here.
He is on a 4-year club option deal, so he is not a free. He's a club free agent in 27-28, so he's locked up long term.
Okay, yeah. So we're not getting rid of him. There'd be no reason to.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why he's not playing. I get that Plumlee's a stouter guy still. I just don't think that it's necessary to. If we were winning games, I'd say keep Mason in there. But we're not, so I'd say tinker with it. Like we saw finally with bringing Bol in from the desert of being like, hey, we're never playing you two. Oh, you might be good. Some games we're going to play you a ton, and other games you won't. So just be ready. That's got to be frustrating. But yeah, so that was a painful. That was. I think that to me it was one of the worst losses. I know I said that about just about every week. I think the Spurs loss was the backbreaker. This was like. I tried to convince myself that, hey, we beat the Bulls. The Spurs were maybe just like an enigma. We couldn't figure it out in time, but we're fresh. We're ready. Nope. Raptors are too good. Let me ask you guys real quick. What are your thoughts on Scotty Barnes? Is he like going to be a star in this league, or do you guys think he's regressed a bit?
I don't know what his numbers are. And can't compare them from last week, but obviously Toronto view him as their cornerstone. Obviously adding Brandon Ingram. They're hoping for some type of a 1-2 punch to develop over there, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's one thing that Toronto loves. It's not quite 7-footers, but just really big wings. And want to play them all. Scotty Barnes you just mentioned him. Brandon Ingram got brought in from New Orleans. Chris Boucher, not Boucher. They've got some length out there. But let me give you the quick career numbers. Here's the averages. So this year, he is averaging 20 points a game. Last year, 19.9. The previous, 15.3 and 15.3. Let's see. Rebounds are second highest ever this year at 7.8. Assists are at a 6.2. 1.4 steals, 1.1 blocks. I feel like maybe his shooting percentages, that's what it is probably. He's shooting 45%. That's actually the worst in his career overall. 26.9% from three, worst ever in his career.
Okay, yeah. Shooting numbers have regressed. But it's kind of like a
Did you say
second
poor
this
man's
team.
Giannis? Would that be a fair description?
Probably. But the makeup Toronto Raptors is kind of like the second coming of the Orlando Magic when they were young and have all the wings in the world.
Yeah. Paolo and Franz Wagner and yeah,
I think with Scotty, it's
Wendell
it's
Carter Jr.
a little bit tough for him just because he with Toronto, he's a good defender and a good length size person, but like you said, he's not the greatest shooter, so they need the shooters around him. That's why they have guys that can make him quickly, Grady Dick and stuff like that. Scotty's been running some point guard too with Darko Rajakovic, which has been a little bit of a weird adjustment. Like you guys mentioned, they're love the wings. They got RJ Barrett too, so they're just like a wing heavy team. Even before when they had Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and Scotty Barnes, they were a wing heavy team. So I like Scotty Barnes. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a top 10 player in the NBA type of deal, but I think for the Raptors he could be a fringe number one option, if not a number two option on a championship team for sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like a Scottie Pippen. Like, he could be that number two. Like, he's going to play great defense. I think he's going to do a lot of the little things, the rebounding, the assists. He can do a lot. But unless he has a better score, and as Josh Crampton points out, RJ Barrett's been balling out. But so maybe it'll eventually work. But I think they need a little bit more offensive firepower so that Scotty doesn't have to kind of force things. But we are not a Toronto Raptors show. We are a Phoenix Suns show.
I was about to say the
yeah.
Suns are so trash that we're talking about.
Hey,
we're doing in-depth
I want
talk
to talk about
other
greatness
teams.
somewhere. It's not here. But next up on the agenda was a Memphis Grizzlies game that we took to overtime. We almost won this one. And there was a new face in the starting lineup as well. And apparently Arizona had this an earthquake recently. Hope everyone's okay.
It's Bull.
I love that drop. Shout out to old producer Josh. As soon as that man gets unbusy, we'd like to get some more videos going. But yes, the Suns, that was the bright spot, one of the bright spots in this game. There wasn't a lot of them, though. Excuse me. The Suns were led by Devin Booker in this game with 28 points, 10 assists. Bradley Beal, 24 points, 11 assists. Kevin Durant, 26 points, 7 assists. Man, I feel like if I would have just told you guys these numbers and didn't tell you the end result at the beginning of this segment, you guys would have just said, wow, so how much did the Suns win by? All three guys are scoring in the 20s and getting high assist numbers. Bol, 23 points. And Grayson Allen chipped in 21. So what you're probably starting to think is, wow, but we lost? Yes, that means we didn't play any defense. That's the clearest takeaway I could give you. As the Grizzlies shot 53% from the field, 42% from three, and also went to the foul line, knocking down 90% of them. So they were able to edge us out, even though Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out of the game as well. They were led by John Morant with 29 points. Desmond Bane had 25. Jaren Jackson, before he left the game, 28. Santi Aldama, who I crush all the time in NBA 2K, but apparently he's good in real life. So that's another reflection that the game does not imitate reality. But he had 17 points. And Brandon Clark, man, I always wish I was a big Brandon Clark guy when he was getting drafted. I was like, Suns, go out and get this man. Never did. And he's just stayed in Memphis, and he's still just being a good player out there. 14 points, 5 rebounds for Brandon Clark. But Guys, did you feel your soul leave your body as we lost in overtime? Or is that just me?
Yeah, this is a pretty entertaining game. Every time both teams scores 299 points.
Exactly.
It's
It wasn't boring from a viewing perspective.
yeah, it wasn't. But of course, we wanted the end result of the game to be in favor of the Suns, but just didn't happen. The old culprit defensive miscommunications cost us the game, and that's that. So it's just one of those frustrating games where that they could win, but you know, damn.
One that we had 6 steals and 6 blocks, but we also had 16 turnovers. Grizzlies, in comparison, had 12 turnovers, 10 steals, 4 blocks. I mean, it's a team that plays defense versus a team that doesn't, and both teams are good offensively, Bruce.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Suns. They're kind of in a season at this point where they're only investing on that one side of the ball, it seems like. And it's just like, all right, well, if we can outscore this team, we're going to win. But if we can't, well, we're just going to chalk it up and just get the out, because that's what we saw. And the Suns were winning this game versus the Grizzlies. They were in control versus this game. Going into the end of overtime, they had with 3 minutes left, they had a pretty big lead. Bol misses a free throw. They come down, they make a basket. Grayson Allen misses a free throw. John Morant hits the 1 3-pointer that he hits all entire game, and it ties the shot. 1 for 12 from 3-point range. And of course, that's the 3 that falls. Bradley Beal plays perfect defense, not trying to jump into him. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's unfortunate because this is what, as Suns fans, we understand. I was watching this game on Discord with my friends talking, and I was like, wow, the Suns could actually win this game. And then 3 minutes later, I'm sitting there going, what is going on? What is happening? And we're in overtime. And then I just realized that the game was already lost before overtime has even started, just because I know that's how the game is going to unfold. I feel like with Suns fans, regardless of the lead, even going into yesterday's game, there was still a pit in your stomach feeling like, oh, we could lose this at some point. And it's
I thought we were.
It's just the reality.
We'll blow it. Yeah.
It's just the reality. And it's sad. It's sad that with a second apron team, a roster built with all this, the highest salary cap in the entire NBA, this is what we're experiencing. When we go to overtime, we're just like, yeah, we lost.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
That's pretty much, I was like, oh no, it's tied. Well, then it's over.
It's been part of the Suns identity, or Suns fans in general. There's always that possibility that they'll lose that lead, no matter how big it is.
Mm-hmm. It was just sad to see, because that's certainly what this team has become. If you would have told me again, I bring this up every now and then, but like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal are all on your team. You are going into overtime. You got a shot to win. Now I'm like, no, we don't. We just don't. It's unfortunate. That's acceptance. Is that the stage of grief I'm in? Perhaps. I was anger for a long time and frustration. Now I'm just like, we kept the lead on the Pelicans a lot. It was strong throughout the game, and I'm just like, it'll come down.
No.
Side note, Bruce, I like the Bruce Almighty coming from Bruce with the "that's the way the cookie crumbles" reference, a reference that has not been popular except for the about 18 years ago. So nice shout out for the classics for the old guys. But let's talk about the New Orleans Pelicans, 16-43.
Good
Doesn't
God.
get much worse than them in the West at the moment. And
Can we not talk about this game? How do you lose to a 4-18 road team? Oh my goodness.
The only thing I can come up with is that both the Raptors and the Pelicans were dismantled by injuries this year. And now they're getting their guys back. So it's kind of too late for them to try and get going. But they will pull out wins like this because who doesn't want to knock Kevin Durant or Devin Booker off the pedestal a little bit? That's why I said we have I feel like all the teams always get excited to play a Boston Celtics or a LA Lakers just because of the history of it all. So I feel like any player, anytime one of those, dominant teams of league history shows up, you get a little excited, much more so than Memphis Grizzlies are coming to town. Oh, okay. We'll try hard, But, you get one of these storied franchises or a storied player like a Kevin Durant. It's like, oh, we're having a terrible season. Hey, but Kevin's coming to town. Dude, we should embarrass Kevin tonight. That's what I try and do with Kevin at each show. So I can totally see the vibe with why they would do that here with this team. But the Suns lose 124-116 to the New Orleans Pelicans. And we lost to a player that is certainly disappointing. But I always kind of thought the Suns should go out and acquire him if the price is right. And that was Zion Williamson leading the Pels. We can talk about this. 27 points on 13 of 17 shooting, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. The man's first triple-double. Because why not? Chris Boucher doesn't make threes. He'll make 4 threes against the Suns. Zion's never had a triple-double. Welcome to playing the Suns, Zion. He gets the job done. And the Suns, Devin Booker looked pissed in this game. And he likes playing against kind of hometown-ish, home area-ish, New Orleans. He's got his family nearby from Mississippi, right? And is that Moss Point? Or am I off on my geography?
Moss Point, I believe, yes.
Yeah, that's in Mississippi? I'm off on the geography. I know he's from the area. But yeah, so Devin Booker leading the Suns, 36 points on 13 of 29 shooting, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. I feel like he was all over the court. Backed up by Kevin Durant, 28 points, 5 rebounds. And this was the start of the Bradley Beal, my calf hurts and I can't do anything. So he was out this game, which allowed Bol to get the start. And he chipped in 15 points, 6 rebounds. It was fascinating to see Zion drive and Bol can only really try and sneak up behind him and get a block because he's not going to stop Zion Williamson in any way, shape, or form. But those were some of the initial takeaways. What do you guys think? You feel good after that one? How about this? Before we get into the press conference, if you were, let's do a little role play. Kevin, you be Coach Bud after a loss like that. What do you tell the team when they walk back into the locker room after a loss like that?
Fire me. Get me out of my misery.
That was good. Sorry, it took me a bit to come back on that. Fire me. Okay, good pep talk.
Straight to the point.
Like zero bench help in this game. Off the bench, Royce O'Neal chipped in 6, Mason Plumlee 4, Grayson Allen was 0 for 7, so 0 points. Ryan Dunn 0 for 5, 0 points. Ty Washington 0 for 1, 0 points. Colin Gillespie 0 for 2, but he knocked in 2 free throws. Thanks, Colin. Nice to see you there, Colin, with the big splash from the charity stripe. Yeah, Bruce loves some.
I know. My biggest complaint is, why is Colin Gillespie playing? No knock on Colin Gillespie. He's an NBA ready player. He's not a two-way guy. He's a guy that's better than a two-way. But why is he playing in a game where the Suns need defense, when they need Ryan Dunn, when Ryan Dunn is sitting there on the bench? And you can talk about the game yesterday. Oh, he got
because Ryan Dunn went 0 for 5. We talked about that.
But you can say we got just early foul trouble. He did, but Ryan Dunn brings so much defensively for this team. And just the instinct wise, it's just like something you lack. And you look at this game perfectly. Grayson Allen, what was he? 0 for 6 from the field, but they were just throwing him. 0 for 7. I think he was a -16, -17 or something like that.
You're too generous. He's -22.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, -22. There you go. But they were just throwing him out there, just going, no, keep trying to shoot. Keep trying to find the basket. It's not going to work. You mentioned Bol and Zion. That was opposite parallels trying to guard each other. It was absolutely hilarious. They tried to send any wall into Zion. Zion just caught the ball, turned, went right, and just easy layup every single time. They were throwing lobs from half court. Zion was catching them and slamming them down on the road.
Yeah.
What are we allowing the fans to get disrespected at home? Like, what is going on? I don't understand. Like Kevin said, if I was Coach Budenholzer, fire me at this point. Like,
Go off, young man. Go off. Yes.
it's at the point where it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And unfortunately, as covering this team, I've been a fan of the team for years, but I've only been covering the team for over a year and a half. It's blasphemy for me to even see this type of like falling apart. I've never seen this type of like disaster class in a front office and a coaching staff and a organization as a whole. And it's just crazy to like look at a team that I cover in the Celtics and seeing how pristine and something that is compared to something like this and how it's two opposite parallels in one league. I don't understand how some of these owners and front offices can run perfectly while others legitimately can run around like a chicken with his head cut off and it's perfectly fine.
That was so well said, man. I think, when you're making me think back to like some of the other Suns' great teams and players. Charles Barkley, I feel like if this stuff was going on, he would have turned and started punching either his own teammates or somebody on the other side at this point. Like, he would not take the disrespect. That part of basketball, I think, is long gone, even though I still, would love to see, like, if you're going to have Mason Plumlee come out there, have him hit somebody hard. You don't have to have a technical, but every foul should be just smoking the guy. Because that's going to be his value. 6 times he can smoke somebody that comes into the paint before he gets taken out of the game. And it's not like we're going to be losing anything with him out of the game. But they don't do that. I still think they're a soft team. I think Booker has a bit of an edge, but let's be honest, Booker is about as fragile as Bradley Beal is with his calves and his groins and his hips and his ankles and everything. So you kind of don't want him going around sticking his face in people's, grill, because he's broken his nose before even. So can't really have him step up and too much and try and get too physical with people. But yeah, the 7 seconds or less Suns. I mean, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Boris Diaw, Raja Bell, Sean Marion, like, these guys took care of business, game in, game out. It was tough in the playoffs. Obviously, we didn't go all the way with that team, but it felt like every year we had the shot. Every year I felt like we had a chance, and every year I was disappointed. But, like, it felt like there was hope and a chance each time. This year is so gut-wrenching to see so much talent, so much resources poured in. It would be different if it was like 10 years ago, like when the early part of Book's career, where it's like, or maybe even like a couple years into it, where it's like, all we have is Book. I didn't feel like, oh man, if we just tried harder, we could win. Like, it wasn't like that. This is just like, and we knew we were underspending. The owner wouldn't spend any money on this, but like, yeah, I like this take from Voida. If Katie was on 7 seconds or less, they would have been a 6 seed. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point. Is that it's just, okay, we'll get into this. Okay, we're going to get into this in a minute. I don't think this is a KD problem because we'll talk a little bit about that. But I don't think it's exclusive to KD. I think we've talked a lot about Beal, Booker, and Durant are very good at doing the exact same things. But my frustration is more, I don't see any hope in the short term for this team to turn it around. I tried to convince myself the Spurs game was just a miss. And the Bulls win, then we're going to start building it. You got to, one game at a time, you just start picking up wins. I thought, we're playing the trash Raptors. We play the trash Pelicans twice. No, no, there's no hope. There's no hope. And I've seen pictures now. Shout out to Voida for sending me one of the arena. Fans are starting to not show up as much. And which is sad because I probably still would, because a $2 hot dog is a good deal anytime you're downtown in Phoenix. So that's you go outside and go to the streets, get those super dogs for about $10 a piece. So give me the $2 one.
I can say, speak as someone that lives in Massachusetts, that I would 100% be going to Phoenix Suns games if I lived in Arizona. Looking at the price tickets compared, I don't care how the team is playing. You try to go into Boston, I can tell you right now, the cheapest ticket at this very moment to go see is around $70, and it's to see the Blazers or the Jazz. Now, those aren't good teams, but you can paid $70 to see that. I saw it was $8 to go see that Pelicans game. $8. Come on, man.
Brutal. That's brutal. I still remember when it was the Eric Bledsoe show, and this was so late in the season. I know we had been eliminated from playoff contention, but I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time, and they were coming to play the Wizards, who were also out of playoff contention, and the cheapest ticket was $2. I was like, it's going to cost me more to take the subway to get to the game than it was to actually see the game. That's how sad that was. But hey, it's not all bad. We played New Orleans the very next night. I wish we would see more games like this. If it's going to be back-to-back, just stay in the same city and handle your business there. And sometimes you see the back-to-back. It's like, we'll play once in Phoenix and then fly to New Orleans with us, and you can play us there. No, they stayed in Phoenix for both games. And the Suns took care of business in convincing fashion. I'd feel unconvinced, but it was 125 to 108. Yes, this has been talked about already. I thought we were going to blow it the entire time. But hey, it looks like everyone wanted to chip in this game. We were actually led by Bull with 25 points, backed up by Nick Richards with 19 points. If I was going to tell you guys that Bull and Nick Richards were our two highest scorers, would you have thought that we would have won this game?
It's the total opposite of the Memphis Grizzlies game.
100%. But efficient shooting nights, just under 60% from the field, 53% from three. Looked very good for Phoenix. New Orleans, you know what? Oh, of course. So, yeah, I totally forgot. I buried the headline. Zion didn't play. So, so sorry, Suns fans. I left out why we won.
Not only did Zion not play, but CJ didn't play and DeJounte.
Oh, McCollum, yeah. And McCollum didn't have a huge game last game, but yeah. You take out
their three best players, and they got Brandon Boston, Jordan Hawkins, Trey Murphy. I don't even know if Herb Jones is healthy at this point. It is very resemblant of their 14th in the Western Conference, and the Suns showed that they were better than the 14th place in the Western Conference.
Oh, thank goodness they did.
Which they should be. Don't get me wrong, they should be, but still nothing to really write home about. It was nice to see Nick Richards excel, and I think one kind of key takeaway with these last couple games is the Nick Richards double big lineup has been working, has been getting some adjustments. It has been pretty solid for this Suns team. So I'd like to see them utilize this kind of going in, running with KD at the small forward, running with this bigger lineup, specifically going into this next half where it is going to get a little bit more difficult with some more physical teams. I think if the Suns aren't going to want to be better defensively, they're going to have to present something. So being better size-wise can at least help a little bit.
Do you expect Coach Bud to listen to anything you just mentioned? No, not listen to what you mentioned, but follow that actual smart advice? Because I have zero confidence.
No. I expect Mason Plumlee to play.
I expect Mason Plumlee to start next game.
Yeah, I expect Mason Plumlee to play. I expect Ryan Dunn to only get substituted in on a inbound pass with 20 seconds left in the first quarter. That's his first look. Then he's going to be taken out and not be seen. And then not see it again. Yeah. But Colin Gillespie, though, no. We need his scoring without Bradley Beal and Grayson Allen. I tweeted this out yesterday when Bradley Beal and Grayson Allen got tweeted out. I said I put my money on it that Colin Gillespie gets introduced into the first quarter. And lo and behold, Colin Gillespie came in with 1:30 left in the first quarter with Ryan Dunn still on the bench. So just goes to show you that even a person like me on a podcast and with 100 followers on Twitter can still call what this coach is going to be able to do, because it's not that hard to picture it and pinpoint it.
Yeah, find me.
Yeah. Let's drop the boom room then. Let's get into some of the debates. And do I have the one with the music set up? Probably not. Nope. God, I moved it. I knew I did.
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, the Boom Boom Room. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
So two big topics to kind of break down. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say we have to put Bruce out there.
We do have to get Bruce in there. Yeah.
You could just be like right now.
I'm more interested in the squeaky chair sound. I want that video. Just like you just like play that afterwards.
Yeah.
Not in the club, but outside or in the office. In the back. He hears the music through the door.
Yeah, bouncer didn't let him in. He didn't have an invite.
I didn't have my ID. I wasn't old enough to get
Exactly.
club.
He's busy doing the accounting in the back of the club to make sure we're still like in business. No, there's two big stories to break down. So first one, I was like, finally, yes, thank you for saying it, Mr. Devin Booker, which was after that embarrassing loss against the New Orleans Pelicans. Book came out, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but it was, I think it's communication. When things get tough, we kind of stop communicating out there. And it's guys like me, Brad, KD, and Coach starts with us, but we've got to talk more when we're out there. And I'd rather have two guys say the wrong thing than not say anything at all. So I think things like that and not skipping over the details and thinking it's next game up mentality. Basically, the line should have been drawn, and it should have been drawn a long time ago. I was like, well, yes, Mr. Booker, it should have. I would have said January at least. Let's go back 2 months and say, let's go back further. But I would have accepted a 2 month ago saying of, let's draw this line now. But Book said that, and then there was kind of a little quip there too at the end. He goes, they said something along the lines of like, I don't know if anyone said, do you blame anyone or anything, but it came across that way where he's like, I'm just saying, we got to talk. And he goes, and I talk. And then he was done. And it was kind of very much like, I'm talking out there. I'm doing my job. Other people aren't talking. And then, of course, the Chris Haynes report comes out the very next night saying that Coach Bud had previously called Book into his office and gave him a little rap on the knuckles saying, hey, tone down that talk in the media. We don't kind of need that here. So, guys, break down the drama that is the dissolution of this team right now. And whose side you on? And Kev, why are you on Coach Bud's side?
Don't put words into my mouth. But I'm just thankful that Book went out his way and said those words. It's not the broken record of we're just gonna try better next time, and it's something new this time. So and of course I'm on Book's side. It starts with him. He's the oldest tenure in this team, right? Oh my goodness, come on. Although we have teased because there are like two Suns fans in the office, me and my colleague, and then we have one colleague who's a Laker fan, and we have jokingly said, Luke is on the Lakers, and do you have any like extra couple of spots in your fandom that we can put in? Because of how the Suns are playing so bad right now. But but again, if anything's gonna change, it's gonna start with the big three, namely Booker, first and foremost, and if he's gonna call out his coach, then I'm all for it.
Well, and this is where I'm curious. So, Bruce, I know you do a lot of writing for Bright Side of the Sun. That's where folks can go and check out some of your work. We know how leaks to the media can be utilized, right? It can be I'm going to give you only my side of the story, and Coach tried to get upset with me for being a leader. It's like, and then that was there was no Haynes saying, and this is actually Coach Bud's position. It was straight. Book was shocked that he was told to tone it down. Is this Does Bud have any leg to stand on here? Trying to keep it in house? No. Is there any redemption for him here? Just like
a week ago, I was kind of we could keep Budenholzer, we could stop the coaching carousel type thing. But as you alluded to, for Brightside, there'll be a piece coming out, if it hasn't come out now, in a little bit, dropping about the reaction to all this stuff. And my opinion has changed on Coach Bud. He needs to be out. I said this in another writing group chat, but how can you tell your franchise leading scorer to tone down vocally when the main gripe with this Phoenix Suns team is that the leaders haven't spoken up? The leaders haven't been vocal enough, right? Booker also had some quotes on this press conference as well, where I don't know the full quote, but he said that he's been vocal. He knows like him, Kay, Brad, Coach, they know they need to be like the leaders, but there's 15 to 20 other guys as well that know what they need to do, and they don't represent that. obviously Booker's frustrated. I understand why. This is not the team that he expected. They were, almost promised a trade at the trade deadline, trying to work out a deal to get this team better. That was unpromised. Then they almost traded his teammate that he wanted to keep playing with. The frustration has to be boiling not only with the coaching, with just the rotations and the mismanagement, like we've discussed, of not playing Ryan Dunn. Why did it take for Kevin Durant's third injury for Bol to get even thrusted into the lineup? They went to the point where it was, we're just throwing random stuff at the wall to utilize Bol. Why was that the last case scenario when you signed him in the offseason? And we saw glimpses. If you look back, there's a Pacers game where he played 12 minutes, was very impactful in those 12 minutes. Why was he not shown after those 12 minutes when they needed rebounding with Yusuf Nurkic? Those types of questions realistically is what pinpoints the crux of all the anger, I feel like, with this Suns organization, is that we have so many questions and there's so many answers. And I think that, yes, the front office is at fault because they haven't built the right roster. Yes, the coaching staff's at fault because they obviously haven't built the right rotations. But truly, I do think that this team could succeed with the roster it does fully have if the rotations were implemented correctly.
Or at least play better. Like,
yes,
in the playoffs instead of outside the tournament looking in. Yeah, no, it's I bring this up every now and then. Nobody ever mentions assistant coaches in basketball like they do in football. Like, oh, the defensive coordinator for this team needs to go. But like, I don't know what's in the brain trust right now of the Suns coaching decisions, if it's just all on Bud's shoulders. But whoever Bud's listening to, he needs to stop listening to him, or Bud needs to accept that it's his fault. And I love Kevin's take. What do you say after the loss to the New Orleans Pelicans? What do you tell the team? Fire me. It's the first thing he says. Because I just don't understand it. I don't understand why we are desperate to win games. It's like, you know what? Let's try Ty Washington then. Let's try Colin Gillespie. I'm sorry. The tinkering time was – this is what's so frustrating in the offseason. It's not like Bol was signed midway through the year. And it's like, how do we try and work him into the rotation? You had the offseason. You knew who he was. The coach, saw him before training camp even probably. And we're told to start working with these guys, start finding ways. And then it's just like he looked like he finally looked down at the end of the bench and was like, who's that big guy down there? Can he play for us? Like he finally looked that direction at one point. And I don't know why he apparently decided that Oso Ighodaro doesn't exist anymore, or Ryan Dunn doesn't hardly exist anymore. But that's where it is. Like, these rotations, they make no sense. I don't understand much of it at this point with these decisions. I don't know if, I think we're looking for a villain we can put the blame on. Like, oh, it's Isaiah Thomas meddling with the front office from he's in the back going, yes, trade Nurkic and get nothing back. Get Cody Martin, but don't let him play. Get Vasily, whoever, he's going to Europe. This is going to help you become the bad boys of the Valley. I'm not sure if that's all what's happening with this team. It just doesn't make any sense. But another thing that doesn't make sense, and this is an interesting debate now. I'm starting to see Suns Twitter finding a fork in the road. How much of it? I've been tough on the guy. I know I have been, and he is still nothing but an amazingly efficient, effective scorer. But is KD part of the problem and not part of the solution with the Phoenix Suns? Go for it, Bruce.
So I think that the players are to fault, because you can't look at this as a whole and say that they aren't. You can't just keep putting the blame on the front office and keep putting the blame on the coaching staff. At some point, there has to be a fault on the players, because the players go out there, the players are the ones to play. But we've all played basketball once. We've all played for an incompetent coach. We've all played for someone that has tried to put us in a position to try to do something that we know that we cannot do on the basketball court, or do something like that on a team in general, right? So if you're a player like Kevin Durant, or you're a player like Devin Booker, and like Kevin Durant has said in that San Antonio Spurs game, we have a quote from Dwayne Rankin that says that Kevin Durant said, we need someone who can guard. And they legitimately did not decide to put Ryan Dunn in. They only played him 20 seconds. And they allowed De'Aaron Fox to continue to go at guys like Tyus Jones, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, etc. When your vocal leader is vocalizing that to your coach saying, we need this, what are you doing? And you're still not changing it. I don't blame him for not playing his best. I don't blame him for not giving his 100%. You're having someone that's not respecting you, that's above the ladder, that's coaching you, that's supposed to be telling you what to do, and you're not going to listen or value that in any way, specifically when Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were frustrated with Frank Vogel and wanted an offensive-minded head coach who could help them in this regard. He's not helping them in that regard, and he's not helping them defensively in what they lack.
Kevin, what do you think? I mean, is that should Bud? I mean, yes is the answer. Should Bud be listening to KD? But how much? I mean, because KD's never really shown an ability to necessarily call it. We've seen the players trying to get their way on sometimes, and they just are actually very poor at analyzing certain things. Bring in my buddy; he's going to be really good. But maybe the buddy can't actually do the job that they're hoping for. But I mean. Or is it just both of them are wrong at this point?
I think at this point you just blame everyone. Everyone's at fault.
What's Kevin Durant's message after game? Fire me! No.
No, I mean I think Bruce is spot on there. I mean everyone has their own faults, but it really goes down to coaching. If your best player is pointing something out and you don't listen, and then
That's what's tough. Kevin, John Voida, Kevin Durant can guard. He's a cancer. This is what's interesting. I don't know. I don't remember, at least with Brooklyn, or even all the way back to Oklahoma City, or even Golden State, if Kevin Durant was ever considered a distraction or not a team chemistry guy. I feel like he always generally has been, but is he just getting to the point in his career where he's like, I'm going to go out and get mine. I can score at will. And he's still like, if you look at his numbers, besides that one game that we picked out of the 5 where he was 5 for 15, he goes out and he's still an effective scorer, efficient, night in, night out. We've seen terrible bust games from Beal and Book. We rarely see that from Durant. We don't really see much on the defensive front or the rebounding front or the creation front. We see a lot of big turnover games too from KD sometimes. But I don't know that I've brought this up many times. I expected KD to do more for this team than just be a scorer. And that's, I think, why I'm ultimately disappointed.
I would say so too, but I ultimately think that with this Suns team, they were put into a situation with trading for Kevin Durant to be built differently, and the front office put them in a scared position with that. By trading for a player like Bradley Beal, you saw what a team like Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving looked like on the Brooklyn Nets, and you can argue that one little toe line obviously was the big difference in all of that, but regardless of that, that team wasn't built to win a championship and wouldn't have won a championship either. So clearly the building of this team has been at fault. And I think that if you had a team with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, some athletic wings, a rebounding center, an actual competent defensive playmaking point guard, and a team built around these two, not only would they be able to be in the championship window, but would be the front runners of the championship window. Now, once again, that's a lot of ifs, but you have to realistically look at what Kevin Durant still is at his career. Yes, is he a little bit older? 100%, but he's still a top 10, top 15 player in the NBA at peak. He can be one of those guys that can go out and be a number one star for you and go out and win. And I think arguably with his older point of his career, you need a guy like Devin Booker, who's one of the better number twos, to kind of compensate for the fact if Kevin Durant does have an off night, or if Kevin Durant gets a little bit banged up because he is a little bit older, you have that guy that can step up and deliver. I feel like if Kevin Durant goes to another team where he's with some younger other guys that are talent wise, or potentially another team that has another older star that could get a little bit more injury prone, it's not going to be as successful for Kevin Durant as it would be with Phoenix if they had the right roster built around him.
Well, I tweeted about this, and I knew exactly what I was doing when I tweeted it because I knew I was going to piss some people off. But in fact, I think I even sent it over to Kevin and be like, I mean, what do you think? And he's like, I mean, you're not wrong. But there was some interesting takes. Let me see if I can even find what it was, how exactly I wrote it. Let's pull it up here. Here we go. Okay. So this is kind of one of the more, I don't know, random thoughts I guess I had kind of in my head. And it was that, does Kevin Durant still impact winning? Let me not bore you guys. I will share the screen with you. Nobody likes to be read to on a podcast, Jake. I know. All right. How about we put this up? And then everyone, if they disagree, can go and say, that was a terrible take. But does Kevin Durant still impact winning was my question. The Nets won 48 games and lost in the semifinals in 2021. However, in 2022, they did worse. They only won 44 games and were swept in the first round. In 2023, the Suns traded for Kevin Durant. The Nets ended up winning 45 games. Durant joined the Suns, and the Suns got beat in the second round, got knocked out by the Denver Nuggets after finishing fourth. Then in 2024, Durant and the Suns were swept in the first round after finishing sixth. This year, Durant and Suns are on the outside of the play-in tournament looking in. I think so. I guess does he still impact winning? Yes, he's a good player. I understand that, but I guess what I've come down to thinking about is that you cannot acquire a Kevin Durant and win if you traded for a Kevin Durant, because most likely you've traded everything to get him. And then there's nothing left to build around. The reason why the Warriors were able to win with Kevin Durant is he signed in free agency. There was no loss of the Warriors. They had Clay, they had Curry, they had Draymond, they were winning titles, and then they just went and gave a max contract to Kevin Durant. Easy peasy. Yeah. But the Nets traded everything to get somebody like Kevin Durant. The Suns traded everyone. I mean, could you imagine Kevin Durant on this team if we still had Mikal Bridges, if we still had Cam Johnson? I think there's no doubt that we would be in the playoff runnings. But you have to give up so much to acquire somebody like a Kevin Durant that in the end he can't lift it, your team to winning. And maybe there's just not a lot of teams, but that could. But like, unless you get a LA Lakers to, trade with the Dallas Mavericks, which I still think should be investigated. Like, I'm sorry. That's just still like that, and the Mark Williams thing. And Mark Williams playing like 30 minutes as soon as he gets back to Charlotte. I'm sorry. Can we penalize the Lakers at some point for it? Because that's clearly bullshit, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. But unless we could have gotten Kevin Durant, for example, with 0 draft picks and just for those players, that I would have said maybe we could have used those picks that we had to try and build the roster. But right now, as you point out, Bruce, a real rebounding center. I mean, Nurkic was close to that, but Bud didn't have a relationship, so we couldn't have that. Wing defenders, we couldn't have that. So I definitely don't excuse the general manager, the front office, that kind of stuff for not building around it. But when you are then locked up to just minimum contracts, I think you're limited to how you can go about it.
100%. And I think also, like, if you look at this team, right, like, I personally think that the lineup should be Booker, Brad, Dunn, KD, Nick Richards. And then off the bench, you have Tyus, Grayson, Royce O'Neal, Bol, and of course we're gonna have Mason Plumlee in there just because Coach Budenholzer is gonna want to play him, right? Yeah. Mason Plumlee would not be.
I'll give you one thing, bud. I'll let you have Mason.
We'll let you have Mason, right? Yeah. So we'll give you your 10-man lineup, but that would be a 9-man lineup, right? You have the rebounding from Bol, you have the defensive ability, you have the shooting on the bench, you have the playmaking off the bench, you have everything, you have the defense added. Obviously, I think looking for a guy like Cody Martin would still be wanted as well, but obviously he's been out for a little bit. He could kind of be thrown in off the bench, kind of to be utilized as a piece. But with the Suns here, they're kind of just like backed up into a corner and with the position they've been in. And that's why I think they tried to get out of the second apron this offseason or this trade deadline, regardless if it was trading Bradley Beal, regardless if it was trading Kevin Durant. That was the main goal around the Phoenix Suns, was to kind of get below this first apron. And I still are under the second apron into the first. And I still believe that will be their goal going into next season. I do want to talk about the draft picks too, because you did bring that up with the Suns. I saw a tweet from Evan Cedery, who brought up how the Suns do not have any of their first-round picks from 2032. relating that the Rockets have the 25, 27, and 29 first-round picks, which I believe are the Nets ones from Kevin Durant trade. And then the Wizards have the 26, 28, and 20 unprotected swaps. So they don't have the pick in general, but they can swap their pick with the Suns. So if they obviously have a higher pick and want to take our pick, they can take it. So I think ultimately with those two big moves, sending out all that draft capital, that's what's hindered us, because there were reports coming out earlier this week, to my knowledge, that about the Matt Ishbia trade with Kevin Durant, where they could have given up less or something like that. And I don't know, like off the top of my head, what the finite details were around that situation. But if they could have kept some extra draft capital, that would have been nice.
Well, I know we got to wrap up. Kevin's got dad duty that's calling his name. But yeah, I guess the Suns do have a first round pick. It's not ours. It's going to be like super late. I think it's the Cavs this year. Is basically
Cavs. Yeah.
So let's hope for massive injuries to just wreck the Cavs for the rest of the year. I'll let them still get into the playoffs if they really want to, but let's have them finish 8th. Prove our stock. But no, that's where I'm at. I'm researching back of the first round draft picks, trying to get excited for the next Ryan Dunn that we won't play. And then in case you
or
guys
trade like Damani.
Yeah, exactly. In case you guys didn't hear, but what's his name? Windhorse. Why would they do that? Wendy said they will be trading Kevin Durant in the offseason. Kevin knows this and the team knows this. And he said that Kevin is still being nothing but professional, but the team has basically come to the realization that it's just not working, and Kevin Durant's going to be shopped. So that's, Wendy doesn't get a lot wrong either. He's one of the better ones for sure, I think, in reporting this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a bit of a power struggle. Does Kevin get to choose where he gets to go? I suppose he will, because he's only got 1 year on his deal at that point, which is going to give him a lot more leverage, which is why I was like, trade him now. Trade him now at the trade deadline while you still can, because now he's going to be able to be like, only this team or only that team. Those are your options. So it'll be interesting. But to close out the show, we do have the Timberwolves, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. We have to go to Denver to play the Nuggets. So we're going to start turning around this season with, against 3 Western Conference playoff teams. So, Kevin, predictions, and where can the folks find you?
043, I'm Kevin PS. Twitter.
And fire me. And Bruce, what's your prediction?
0-3. It's going to be the toughest schedule of the season. Follow me on Twitter at Bruce Velez. You can catch me over there. Suns Planet Pod, Suns Digest, Celtics Digest, Bright Side of the Sun, and Last Word on Sports.
Ooh, God, I swear you're getting to be like one of those like real estate agents with like 20 after your title. You got your ASAPFI license and everything. We're gonna go 1-2. How about that? Positivity. We're gonna beat the Clippers. Suck it, LA. We're gonna show the world that we're still not ready for prime time. You can follow me at Fallen Founder. Check out the show, like and subscribe. That really helps us build things here, guys. And
buy us coffee.
Yeah, buy us coffee. Check us out. Support the show. We'll see you next week. Oh, Suns visit Columbia. We got some positivity to share. We'll be there with you next week, guys. Take care.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. The guard hurt. Here's the jump shot. Good. It's good.
Al McCoy with you courtside. Bumped up a 3.
Shazam! He ties it. ATA. Alan Tim up here.
Happy birthday!
Right. Yeah.
I know it's the ball, but happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, 3-pointer straight away.
Shazam! I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.